Todd Chrisley posted a pretty cryptic message on Instagram discussing being hurt and overcoming the situation. Fans can't help but appreciate the timing of this post, as it follows Kyle reflecting on hurting his father and his father forgave him. The thing is, Kyle Chrisley is only part of the equation. What about Lindsie Chrisley? Has Todd Chrisley also overcome and moved past his drama with his estranged daughter? Did he apologize for falsely accusing her of reporting him for tax fraud? Just a few hours ago, Todd Chrisley shared a picture with white letters on a black background. The photo discussed maturity and moving on. The true mark of maturity is when somebody hurts you and you try to understand their situation instead of trying to hurt them back. His picture reads. At the bottom of the picture, he added, "Not easy but yep." In his caption attached to the photo, he continued to discuss getting hurt and moving on. At this point, Todd Chrisley almost seems happy his son hurt him and they were able to grow from this situation. The question is, does he feel the same way about his daughter Lindsie? Chrisley Knows best fans are constantly badgering Todd for information about Lindsie. He was quick to forgive Kyle for betraying him, but did he ever take a moment to apologize for falsely accusing his daughter Lindsie? Now, there are some theories that Todd isn't actually allowed to talk about Lindsie on social media. Some believe the duo have an agreement. If they do have an agreement, many believe he is simply respecting her wishes by never bringing her up. That theory, however, doesn't make much sense if you follow Lindsie on Instagram though. She does, on occasion, mention both her father and the reality TV series. Do you appreciate that Todd Chrisley has forgiven Kyle for what happened in their past? Do you think he has also been able to move past his issues with Lindsie? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. And keep coming back for the latest on the Chrisley Knows Best family. Todd Chrisley has never shied away from emotional turbulence. It's almost part of his DNA. But this time, his reflections aren't about fame, wealth, or even the spotlight that once shone so brightly on the Chrisley Knows Best patriarch. Instead, they stem from something raw, personal, and deeply human, the kind of pain only family can cause. Todd's recent reflections on his strained relationship with his eldest son, Kyle, shocked fans. His words, that he was happy Kyle hurt him, sent waves through the Chrisley fandom. To many, that sounded almost contradictory. How could a father feel any kind of happiness in pain? And what about Lindsie, the daughter who spent years in her own tangled web with Todd? What unfolds here is not just the story of a fractured family, but of a man who may finally be understanding his wounds and finding peace in the most unexpected way. The pain beneath the smile behind Todd's signature grin lies a history of heartbreak that fans often forget. While Chrisley Knows Best painted a picture of Southern perfection, the witty dad, the polished home, the strong family unit, the reality behind the cameras was often far from idyllic. Kyle Chrisley, Todd's eldest son from his first marriage, was once at the center of that illusion. His early appearances on the show suggested reconciliation and redemption. But over time, cracks began to show. Substance abuse, mental health struggles, and personal conflict created a rift that neither father nor son seemed ready to repair. And yet, in recent reflections, Todd didn't express anger. He expressed gratitude, or at least something like it. The happiness he described wasn't joy over betrayal. It was the relief of revelation. Through Kyle's pain and distance, Todd found a mirror that forced him to face parts of himself he had long ignored. Pain, he seemed to imply, had purified him. The cycle of control and Todd's relationship with Kyle has always been complicated, rooted in both love and control. Todd's perfectionism, which fueled his reality TV fame, also casts long shadows in his parenting. The image of the polished, flawless father left little room for vulnerability or imperfection. Kyle, who struggled under that weight, often rebelled. He wanted love without judgment, understanding without condition. Todd, meanwhile, demanded structure, order, and gratitude. The things he believed held a family together. But for Kyle, those expectations became a cage. Over the years, every attempt at reconciliation felt fragile, one small spark away from collapse. When Todd said he was happy Kyle hurt him, it was perhaps an acknowledgement that pain had finally cracked the shell he'd built around his heart. In a sense, Kyle's actions, his mistakes, his distance, forced Todd to confront his own humanity. It was a kind of breaking open. Prison reflections and the price of humility. Todd's time behind bars has undeniably transformed him. Removed from the luxury and control of his former life, he's been stripped down to something simpler. A man reflecting on the ruins and rebuilding from within. It's from that stillness that his recent reflections about Kyle seem to emerge. Happy, in this new context, doesn't mean contentment with betrayal. It means acceptance. It means seeing pain as a teacher rather than a punishment. Prison life reportedly humbled Todd. Without cameras, designer suits, or his trademark sass, he was left with silence, and silence can be brutal. It echoes back every word ever spoken in anger, every relationship fractured by pride. In those echoes, Todd seems to have discovered a kind of redemption not through others' forgiveness, but through his willingness to feel pain honestly. That's why his statement hits so deeply. He's not celebrating suffering. He's acknowledging that it made him real again. Kyle's quiet road. Kyle, for his part, has been walking his own path, one equally scared by hardship. After years of estrangement, addiction battles, and emotional distance, he's appeared to find a semblance of stability. Married life and fatherhood seem to have grounded him in ways that once felt impossible. But the father-son bond remains complex. Todd's public reflections on being happy to be hurt may sound poetic, but for Kyle, they likely hit differently. A reminder that healing for one doesn't always equal healing for both. Kyle's journey has been defined by seeking autonomy from a powerful father figure. Yet somewhere beneath that search for independence, the longing for reconciliation still flickers. The Lindsie question, and then there's Lindsie, the daughter who's long lived at the crossroads of love and resentment with Todd. Her relationship with her father has been one of the most publicly dissected aspects of the Chrisley family dynamic. From podcast confessions to social media hints, Lindsay's narrative has always oscillated between hurt and hope. There were moments of reunion, moments of distance, and many moments of silence, the kind that says more than words ever could. Todd's comments about Kyle inevitably brought her name back into the conversation. If he's happy that Kyle hurt him because it taught him to grow, what about Lindsay's hurt? Has he found the same peace in that fracture? Lindsay's pain runs deep, perhaps even deeper than Kyle's. Unlike Kyle, whose conflicts often erupted in bursts, Lindsay's wounds have been quieter, more psychological. They stem not just from conflict, but from feeling unseen. She's spoken before about wanting to step away from the narrative of Todd Chrisley's daughter, to find her own name outside her father's shadow. For years, it seemed Todd couldn't let that go. His love for Lindsie was real, but it came wrapped in conditions, in expectations of loyalty and image. Now, as Todd redefines what love and forgiveness mean to him, the question lingers. Will he apply those same lessons to Lindsie? Healing isn't linear. Both Kyle and Lindsie represent two sides of the same coin, two children shaped by the gravity of a powerful father, each struggling to break free while still craving his approval. Todd's reflection on being happy about Kyle's hurt might signal that he's finally learning that love doesn't require perfection, that relationships don't need to look tidy to be real. The irony is that Todd built a television empire on appearances, and now, stripped of that facade, he's learning that imperfection is where truth lives. Healing in the Chrisley family isn't a straight road. It's jagged, filled with detours of pride, misunderstanding, and delayed compassion. But for the first time, it seems Todd isn't trying to control the outcome. He's simply sitting with the pain, acknowledging it, and maybe, finally, letting it transform him. Family fractures in the spotlight. Public families often fracture in private. But the Chrisleys have never had that luxury. Every feud, every reconciliation, every tear has unfolded beneath the unblinking gaze of fame. For Todd, that visibility was once a tool, the stage on which he curated perfection. But now, as life forces him to confront imperfection, fame feels more like a mirror. Every time fans speculate, analyze, or judge, they remind him that his story no longer belongs solely to him. Still, even through that scrutiny, something redemptive glimmers. The fact that fans continue to care, to question, to hope for resolution, means that the Chrisley story has transcended entertainment. It's become a portrait of messy humanity. What forgiveness really means at its core, Todd's recent reflection is about forgiveness, but not the cinematic kind. This isn't a tearful reunion or a public declaration. It's something quieter and, paradoxically, stronger.